And we're live.
Oh, hey guys. Oh, Bayless, what's going on, bro?
I'm good, man. It's always a good feeling when you could chill, kick your foot up, and watch some college football, and your team
100%.
ain't playing.
What's even better is that, last year we were actually the kind of team that would lose the bye. It feels good to not lose the bye week. Feels good to be back.
Yeah, man. I can't say the same about. I'm gonna call them spot the ball you moving forward. Them boys hurting up there right now, man, and I don't feel bad about it.
Nor should you. Nor should you. All right, man, let's get into it. Week one, even though it is week three, this will be week one of Somebody Said Noles podcast we're going to get into every week, going over the week of Florida State football, tapping into a little ACC action, see what we're doing, see how we're feeling. Um, Definitely going to try to start doing our post game reviews. There might be a few weeks where you and Jace gotta hold it down, just y'all two, because me and 12 will be live action sometimes at Dope. It was a little harder to get a post game reaction. Shout out being a first time season ticket holder.
How
But
does
either
that
way, we
How does that feel, man?
man, listen, you get a lot of good perks, man. You got to tap into it. Season tickets are not expensive, surprisingly not. And then the games that we don't go to, we just put on the market. Like I put my Kent State tickets up on the market, and they already sold for like $102, which is crazy for a Kent State game,
Nice,
right? Yeah, so I'm already getting a good return on investment.
as you
Feels
should,
good.
as you
Feels
should.
good. Um, 2 games in, your boys have already matched their win total of last season, and they look good both times doing it, man. How do we feel so far?
It feels good, and we mentioned it before we started the show that we have adults in the room now, and I think that's the thing that feels the best about this. It's not because I don't like to put my faith in kids' hands. I want it to be like some competent adults in the room, and when I have the utmost confidence in this team because of the grown-ups in the room. You got Gus, who he's seemingly the happiest he's been in a while, just having to call plays. I listened to he did an interview with David Pollitt. I sent it to the group text, and he said he thought about retiring and decided Mike reached out to him and said, "Well, hey, why don't you come call plays for us?" And he agreed to it, and he gets to call plays. Doesn't have to coach a position. So just having guys like that, Gus and Tony White, it can make me sleep good at night. So I'm feeling great, man. Just feeling great.
It's such a drastic change. I mean, I know that they cleaned house, right? Even just on the players themselves. You look at that offensive side of the ball, and there's only one guy from last year that's actually a returning starter. And I think that's Roydell Williams, right?
Yeah,
Everybody else on that offensive unit is a brand new player, right? Revamped the defense, which you do all that, and one of our biggest concerns was, okay, it'd be nice to maybe get East Texas out of the way first, or maybe Kent State before you get into Bama. Like you're testing something brand new against Alabama, and for them to show what they showed, play how they played, new coaches, new system, new players, to have those results and then back-to-back results. Man, I don't think that personally, as fans, we could ask for anything more for this team right now. Obviously, it's still early. You're still going to hit your bumps. You're still going to hit your hiccups, whatever, whatever. But if your team is supposed to get better from week one to week two, they really did. They did that exponentially. And I know we're playing. I know who we played week two, but that's what you expect to see from a really, really good team, right? You
right.
expect them to go and play with their food, go ahead and kill them, get them out the way early. What's been your biggest surprise from this team roster wise?
Roster wise, I would say I didn't expect the offensive line to play, especially in that Bama game. They
Hmm.
were moving people up front. I didn't expect them to play that well, being that it's an entire a brand new offensive line, guys that haven't played together in a meaningful game yet, and with the reports coming out of camp, they had I think they practiced maybe the last week or two of camp together as a unit. So
Yeah.
I was actually surprised to see how they came out, especially in the Bama game, and dictated the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
It was a time we went for it on fourth down, and years past, specifically last year, you can't count on a fourth and one to get a yard. I think
Yeah.
with this offensive line, we could get a yard whenever we want to. I
Yeah.
think those guys could have a mean streak in them going down the line, down the road with this
Mhm.
schedule. So yeah, that's the first thing for me. Just that the line of scrimmage on the offensive side. Um, Also just the depth. I didn't, we mentioned it previewing the season, and we were kind of concerned if a few guys went down on defense, who's behind them. And it's in that Bama game, they played over 25 guys on defense.
Yeah.
So that speaks to just the unexpected depth that we have. You see freshmen like the Desir twins out there getting
Yeah.
meaningful snaps, 20 plus snaps, and there's not a far drop off, and that excites me. Normally when you put a second team in, then teams start moving the ball. We're still getting
Mm-hmm.
stopped, with the second string guys, the freshmen. Blake Nicholson is starting to come on.
He didn't get stiff armed into the portal after all.
No, no, I think he's safe now. I think
Yeah.
that stiff arm had me concerned though, but I think
Man.
so yeah, just for me the depth on defense and that offensive line
Yeah.
is really surprising from a roster perspective right now.
I'm with you on that. And even guys that we've seen before, Daniel Lyons in that Alabama game, he was active in that backfield, man. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it wasn't somebody that we were expecting to get a lot from, because we've seen him before, right? He's been
right,
here. He's just been a decent to average player, but I mean, he was really active. So to me, again, I think it goes to, not only do we have the talent, again, last year's team, we said it before, that wasn't a 2-10 roster, right? You had the talent there, but for whatever reason, after that Georgia Tech game, and then your first game at home, there was so much quit in that team.
right,
And we talked about it. The big thing was, well, you didn't have Jordan Travis, you didn't have Jared Verse, you didn't have the leaders on that team that was going to get your guys in line, right? We never knew who the leader was last year. It wasn't DJU on offense, and on defense, was it Shaheem Brown? Was it supposed to be Shaheem, and he just couldn't do it. He's not that kind of guy. Definitely wasn't going to be Patrick Payton. We never knew. And then when you don't have that, and your coaches can't get it from you, we know that Tony White, it starts with him. Everybody
right,
knows that. And then from there, okay, Earl, you're the guy on that team, right? Daryl Jackson, you're the guy on the D line. We know who the leaders of this team are now. Where before we didn't, we had no clue. Tommy came in day one. Hey, y'all get behind me, let's go.
right.
Right? The offense knows who the leaders, who the leader is. I think that's a very, a huge contrast. So I think for me, that was the biggest surprise there, or one of the biggest surprises was the way that team was able to become a become a team, right? As cliche as that sounds,
Right.
we didn't have a team last year. We just had a bunch of guys playing for themselves, and then they all quit together. That's the one thing they did together was quit,
And
right?
not to cut you off, but also last year's team, Mike went and got a bunch of potential. I think this year he got guys that proved something already, in college football. It's okay to get a, a team that has talent, but
Mhm.
production I think has to be valued more moving forward. And I think this offseason they valued production over just talent and potential. And I
Yeah,
think you're starting to see that. Like Elijah Herring, I think I'm more confident in that linebacker unit because Elijah Herring has over 200 tackles in his career, and he's seen it all in the SEC. He's led Tennessee in tackles. So you get a guy like Deuce who went nuts last week that has caught touchdowns in
and
meaningful games and is very productive. So I
Yeah.
think that's also a big difference in the roster. Is just the guys, they were very specific about, hey Bugs.
Sean said, "Hey, Bugs."
They were very specific about the guys that they went and got. They just let
Yeah.
me grab Jaylen Brown because he's fast and he was a 4-star. Let's see what he does. Let me get these guys that has been productive
Mm-hmm.
and put them on this team. And it was, I think Gus played a big role in this roster, especially offensively, because you
Yep.
see like these guys are. Tommy is the perfect quarterback for Gus's system. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think if we would have went and got the best quarterback in the portal, it probably wouldn't have been the best fit. You know, we like to throw the ball deep in Gus's offense. You get a
Mm-hmm.
guy like Deuce that could run a 4.4 and he's 6'6". It makes
Yeah.
sense. So I think,
Same thing with Squirrel Wright. I mean, Squirrel was
yeah,
brought in to take the top off, and I mean, one of the biggest plays in the Bama game was that 40-yard pass to Squirrel,
yeah.
right? And you have a guy that can air the ball out. I mean, nobody's looking at Tommy as, huge arm. Tommy can make throws, right? I think in this offense, and it was something I was actually I had text 12 about, where he actually admitted this is the first time in an offseason that he's actually had a quarterback coach, right? Somebody that's actually trying to develop him as a passer, which to me is crazy. I'm like, you're at BC. I know you weren't highly recruited as a quarterback coming out of high school, but you got guys like Arch. We'll talk about Arch later, and there's another one, right? People who I'm sure that have had quarterback coaches. You go to IMG, you go to all these big, football camps basically that are just churning out talent. Tommy's never had somebody to work on playing quarterback.
Mm.
So I feel like there's still a lot that can be untapped with Tommy, and we'll see what happens with him. You're right. I think Gus is the perfect guy for this. Something I've also realized too, is last year they had such a huge rotation of guys on offense, where in the game in Dublin, Jalen Lucas gets off, and then you never hear from him again, right?
Mm.
Or Toa Feely would go for 19 yards, and all of a sudden here comes Cam Davis. What I
So
love about something that we thought Gus was going to do was, okay, he's going to pick his one or two guys and ride with it. But the fact that he's been doing the things that he's doing, the calls that he's been dialing up, it's allowed for Sawchuck to have 5 touchdowns. It's allowed for Uzmain to get in there. Tommy does things with his legs. Makai Danzy is getting in there. Jalen Lucas, like, yeah, he's spreading it around more than I thought that he was going to do, but he's putting guys in a position to be productive with it. You know what I mean? We've seen Makai Danzy run that reverse. It's like, okay, well, you know it's coming. You know it's coming. And for whatever reason, you can't stop it because of all the motion. Like, I think there was one replay. I went back and I watched the East Texas game on the reverse that Makai Danzy scored on. He's setting up so much stuff on film, bro. Like when you sit here and you watch it, or even the Sawchuck touchdown where they put him in at Wildcat, and you got Jalen Lucas coming in jet motion. You got Tommy flanked off. Sawchuck gets it, fakes a pitch to Tommy, fakes a handoff to Jalen Lucas, but keeps it. And I'm like, how do you defend that? There's no way that you're going to be able to defend it. You put the defense in so much conflict, bro, where he's just setting guys up for success later. And it's crazy to me.
And once again, Gus has literally nothing better to do than just sit in his office and scheme up play.
Yeah.
Like that's the beauty of it. And I think you mentioned last year, and a lot of Florida State fans were upset because Jalen Lucas was basically our best weapon last year, but wasn't used as such. He got started out early in the first game last year, and then Mike Norvell even admitted he kind of lost track of getting them the ball or getting them back in the. How does that happen? But I think for him to give up the play calling and just be a CEO head coach and allowing Gus
Mhm.
only to call plays has helped this offense so much
Yeah.
because you can manage, players' reps better. Because as a head coach, you're not even if you're calling plays, you're not only just calling plays, you're thinking about the whole totality of the team as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that was just big for just having Gus come in and just call plays because players, like you said, he's setting things up for later in the game. and he's managing when players get reps. I saw Makai
Mhm.
Danzy out there more than I've ever seen him out there before. Um,
Mhm.
because Gus is going to identify what you're. Oh, he's good at running.
Yep.
Let me hit him on a couple reverse. Let me set him up, and then I'm gonna hit uh, Jalen Lucas in the flat. So I think just having a coach that strictly calls the having an offensive coordinator that's strictly what he does, it
Mhm.
helps the offense so much because it seems like it's more organized.
Yeah.
And you know,
Listen, I feel like it's a perfect, segue to where, we have to give credit where credit's due, and that goes to Mike Norvell, right? I think that it takes a lot once you get to a place of, a head coach, it's hard to now take away or take something from yourself that really you made your career on, which is calling plays, right?
yep,
For him to be able to sit back and say, okay, you know what, 2-10 is on me, and he's owned it. I that's one thing I can say about Mike Norvell. You know, all the way up until the beginning of the season, he owned 2-10,
you
right?
ain't
He
got no
never got
choice
to a
but to
place
own
where he said, okay, guys, it happened. It's time to move on. If you ever got asked a question about 2-10, he to a man, he owned it, right? So, one of the biggest, concerns of mine coming into the season was, well, 2-10 is on your head. Which Mike are you, right? Are you rebuild this roster, have a great 8-4 season, follow that up with an undefeated conference championship season, just to follow that up with a 2-10 season? Who are you? Because you're both things so far, right? And for him to be able to pull off what he's pulled off so far, again, it's just 2-0. But for him to do what he's done, to relinquish play calling, to become a CEO head coach, I have to give it up for Mike Norvell so far. And it's like you're doing a fantastic job, right? And
right.
that was one of my biggest concerns was I gotta know which guy are you? Because again, you're both. You're both until you're not. Like, which one is the outlier? And so far, 2-10 looks more like the outlier than anything else.
Yeah. He's just had such a roller coaster career ever since taking the job at Florida State. His first year, it was the COVID year. He couldn't hit the recruiting trail. He missed his first Miami game because he got COVID.
Right.
It's just been a roller coaster ride for Mike. And it's funny because I think overall his team, Mike Norvell's team, is an effort team. Because I remember those first 2 years, we've been texting in our group chat, but the first two
Mhm.
years it was like they look better. We losing, but they tried.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think Mike Norvell's team, their identity is a try hard team. It's gonna be all
Yeah.
hats to the ball, even if we're the less talented team. So I don't condemn him for that 2-10, man. It's just
Nah,
that
nah,
just
I got
I get it.
hold on. You know why though, because at the same time, when we watch that team, the same way we're praising a Gus Malzahn or Tony White for holding players accountable, right? Shaquem Brown, don't care how long you've been here. If you're not giving me what I need, you're not starting. I don't care
Well,
if you're a
I'm,
senior or whatever.
I'm
Last
not
year,
saying
we saw
I
him
don't hold him
continuously.
accountable.
Yeah, you kind of sound like
No,
you know
no.
why? Because he
Let me
wasn't
rephrase it.
holding
Let
his
me
players
rephrase it.
accountable.
Let me rephrase it. I hold him accountable for it because you're the head guy. You saw this. You should have seen it coming. He probably
Hmm.
didn't until it was too late. But I could hold you accountable, but I could also not condemn you. I think it's two different things because you did give us a 13-0. It was a snub. You did go 10-3. We've seen incremental growth, and
Hmm.
then for a disaster of a season to happen because you did the formula again, but you did it the wrong way, and it didn't work
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I could hold you accountable for that,
Yeah.
but I could also not condemn you. You know,
I get it. I mean, for me, for me, it wasn't just the formula. It's like if you see guys like Patrick Payton dogging it, if you see guys out there not trying their hardest, but yet they still get all the reps in practice, they're still out there, they're still starting. You're not holding your players accountable, right? Now, if that's on Adam Fuller as well, if that's on Alex Atkins, well, you're a reflection of that. You're still the head coach. You can say, all
right?
right, you know what? If we're already 2-7 at this point, there's no need for me to trot this guy out here, and he's clearly been dogging it since week 2. But when I'm watching you continuously do it, it's like okay, you're banging your head against this wall. What are you trying to prove? You already lost it. So, the idea of accountability for this season, I think Mike took it where he didn't have it last year. He wasn't holding the players accountable. You know that there's accountability right now in that Florida State locker room. And it does come from Mike, but Tony White is huge on accountability, right? There's one thing I know that right now he's going to get a head coaching offer. And
Hey man, hey
there's
man,
no need for contract extensions, but if you're going to go be the head coach at Akron, we can match that money. Match it.
man, I was talking to somebody a couple days ago. Man, we got to enjoy Tony White while we
Yeah.
can. He gives me Jeremy Pruitt vibes.
Mm.
Great defensive play caller, but I
Hmm.
don't.
Stay away from them young girls.
I honestly think it's going to be similar to that. It's just going to be
Yeah.
a 1 year, one hit wonder. He's going to have a great year with us this year, and he's going to get it. He's a superstar. I think he's probably top three hottest coaches right now as far as getting a head coaching job. So I don't think I would love to re-sign him for another season, but I just don't see it, man. Just the way he carries himself. Like we literally have three head coaches
Yeah.
in the room. You know,
No,
you
real
got
deal.
the old ball coach with the knowledge and been through
Hmm.
everything in Gus, and you got the young fiery guy that's ready to prove himself in
Hmm.
Tony White. And I love that you mentioned that he holds everybody accountable.
Yeah.
Um, that's what makes this defense so good, man. And I don't know if this is the direction you're going, but we got to kind of highlight just how good the defense has been, and just the effort, man, and him holding everybody accountable. There's no starters every week. If you're not playing your butt off, Shaheem Brown, you won't see the field. So
Yeah.
I love that about it. I love that about Tony White.
Yeah. And you know what? Just to kind of piggyback on that, I think that also comes from again what you do in practice, right? When you're constantly hearing guys talk about the effort given in practice, I think most championship level teams will probably tell you, hey man, our practices are harder than the game, right? When we go up against that offense, we go up against that defense, that's harder than what it's like in the game. Because once we get there, well, we've been doing it all week. We're already prepared for everything. And you're kind of starting to hear that from the guys. It's like, no, these practices are tough. Like we get at it. So, there's no fear, there's no intimidation when you go into a game against Alabama and everybody's already expecting you not to perform the way you ended up performing. Like, nah, we do that every day. We know what we are. We know what we can do. I don't care if it's Bama, whoever, right? Like to me, I feel like the defense is so far taking on the personality of Earl Little. Like you know that he's the dude on that defense, right? Every single highlight on defense that we've seen in the last 2 weeks, Earl Little is on every single play.
Yeah,
He's hitting somebody.
and it's not like.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, I mean, and you can tell it's contagious, man. Like Ashton Bark, I told you, one of them boys is gonna get suspended for a half target.
I love it.
Either him or Ashland, like to see Charles Lester out there. Right? Charles Lester is the dude that came in, a bunch of hype out of that class, especially in that DB room, and we haven't heard a peep from him since he got to Tallahassee. And to see him out there, going back and rewatching the Bama game a couple times, like third downs, fourth down, money downs, Charles Lester is out there. And that's like, okay, so you trust this kid. That means he's been putting in the work. For Tony White to have you out there on a money down, bet, right? You see the Desirs out there on money downs, bet. All right. Everybody is buying into what they're doing, and that shows you a lot of what that leadership and that defense is doing, man. I like that defense right now against anybody, right? And people were so concerned about having that Tony White defense, that 3-3-5. And I'm like, he just doesn't run three down linemen. Like he does a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
it's just the name of the defense that's
Hmm.
scare people. You know,
Hmm.
he's not going to have three down linemen on 4th and 1, or like
Right.
he's still a smart guy that he knows he has to adjust. But the base of his defense is a 3-3-5. You know, and even some of the players, they weren't too anxious to play in the 3-3-5.
Yeah,
But
remember
the
Juice
thing that,
saying it.
yeah, the thing that I think allowed the players to have confidence is how free they are to be themselves and just
Yep.
see what you see and go ahead and attack. It's a more attacking defense, and you can see on the field the players are communicating. They know where they need to be. There
Yep.
was a play. I was watching the Alabama play this past weekend. They did like a reverse screen where they rolled to the right, the back leaked out on the left with the
Mhm.
offensive line, and they threw it to the left to the back, and they scored on that this weekend. But in our game, the same play happened, and
Mhm.
our corner stayed home. He didn't
Yeah.
go with the reverse. So these guys, they're playing smarter. They're reading what
Mhm.
they're seeing, and they're believing what they're training. So this defense, even on a play where Edwin Joseph got beat on a slant and go,
Mhm.
he held the guy. That's a
Smart,
smart defensive play.
smart play. Yeah, because that was a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys are just having a defensive coordinator like Tony White. He's gonna have smarter players, and if
Yeah.
you can't play smart, you won't be out there. So you mentioned Charles being out there, man. He's obviously showing something, and it speaks to development when you're putting younger guys out there in situations like that. It's only
Mhm.
going to help your development
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah. Again, the fact that you got two true freshmen out there, you got the Desir twins out there, and not just out there taking up space, they're out there making plays. You know what I mean? So I love it, man. I love it. So at that point, kind of talked about the offense. We've given Mike his flowers. Um, some shakeups have happened, yesterday to where
Oh,
right now we're about to get into ACC play next week, right? When we go see Virginia. Georgia Tech took down Clemson. Clemson is 1-2 now.
yes, yep.
Miami, they took care of business. Right now, it's looking like Florida State and Miami are the class of the ACC. Going forward, what are your projections? Let's not get too far into it because I know we're going to do this week to week. Where do you think that we're sitting right now in the ACC? What's our potential? And what do you think for, again, games that we thought were going to be huge? The Clemson game, right? We felt like, all right, if we're going to have some losses, it might be to that Clemson team, right? That Miami game might be a challenge. That Florida game might be a challenge. Where now you're sitting back and looking, at a bird's eye view of things. It's like, this could
So
be a really special season.
yeah,
I'm
but
not. Listen, I'm not going to talk about the lies that we have in the group text,
that's
right?
that's where that's where I was gonna go. I don't want to say anything that we talk about in the group chat
Correct.
publicly, just because
Correct.
of we got humbled last year, so
Yeah.
we're kind of taking it 1 week at a time, and I think that's what the team should do as well. Don't look at what's going on, outside of that locker room. You see, a lot of things are different around the country. So you just gotta take it one game at a time. You look at even Virginia Tech. I think, did they lose to Old Dominion last night?
I believe I know they were down. I thought that they did, but I'll look it up. You keep
Yeah,
going.
you look at Clemson there, and don't forget Georgia Tech. Now you mentioned the class of
Yeah,
they're undefeated.
they're up there. Yeah,
They're playing good.
yeah.
Um, I do think everything just stacks up well for us because there's not a lot of good teams in the ACC. Let's be honest. We thought it would. Clemson, they're not carrying their weight. And you got teams like Virginia that I believe they lost this weekend as well.
Mhm.
Man,
Yeah.
it's
Virginia beat William and Mary. SMU was struggling against Missouri State, which was crazy to me.
right.
Pitt lost against West Virginia, and yeah, Old Dominion took down Virginia Tech, so they're 0-3.
So the ACC ain't that strong this year. The Miami game, everything hinges on that Miami game.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if we lose that game and win out, everything's still in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, man, I think it's just playing out so well for us. We came out, beat Bama, who seemingly looks good, still looks good. You got Kent State this week. You just got to focus week to week on the games you got. But I think that Miami game, it's gonna mean everything. It's gonna give you that
Yeah.
old school vibe. Game day should be there. You win that Miami game, man. You look up at the schedule. Are you scared of Clemson?
At
Are you
this
scared
point,
of
no. I
Pitt?
mean, no, no. There's not a game right now on that schedule. That I'm sitting back and I'm nervous or scared about. Right. I mean, even when we talk about North Carolina State. I mean, I know they're 3-0. They beat Wake the other day. I'm not. I'm not that concerned about North Carolina State.
Right.
Right. I mean, they didn't look fantastic. I think that game. Wake Forest was up at halftime. Wake Forest isn't good. Wake Forest was up at halftime in that game, and the dog is making an appearance. Right, they're up at halftime in that
The
game,
whole family
and
showing up.
yeah, the whole family's here today. It's an old family. Um, so yeah, no, I think I think that what we do. Let's see what we do against Kent State. Let's kind of project everything out, right? For Kent State, I want us to do the same thing that we did with East Texas, right? Don't play with your lunch. Go out there, bust the ass, get some of the guys in there that need to see some reps. Um, people who we might, depend on later. Let's, get Jalen Lucas some more touches. Let's get Uzmain some more touches. All right. Get those guys in there. Get everybody out healthy. Get into ACC play with Virginia, and then uh, ramp up for Miami. Miami still got to go in there and play Florida, right? And even though
Right.
Florida's looking what they're looking like, I mean, I don't think that's just going to be a walk in the park, right? And I would love to see how Miami looks against them before they come and see us. So, but I'm with you. Everything hinges on that Miami game as far as what our future could be, because they're the most, I guess, for on our schedule, they're the only thing that I'm concerning myself with. I'm not concerning myself right now with Clemson. Clemson doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And if they can't stop a running quarterback, we know what Haynes King is, right? He's like a king slayer at this point, right? If you can't handle a running quarterback, well, guess what we have back there? And we got an O line that can move, and we got running backs that can move, and we we got a guy that has crazy Olympic speed that basically anytime he gets reversed, he takes it to the house. So yeah, man, I don't want to project too far, 1 week at a time, but it is setting up good for that pot of lies to get back on the stove. So
And I think the coaching staff, they're gonna keep the guys level headed, hold them accountable. That's
mhm,
why I love this staff so much, man. They're all about the work week to week and take
yeah,
on what's in front of you and don't look ahead. And I think what happened last year, they're gonna constantly remind them, this team, I can't wait for that game. I'm jumping all over the
mhm,
place, but I cannot wait for that
I'm good.
game in Gainesville.
Yeah,
Because I think Mike is going to remind them what happened last year, even the Miami game, what happened last year.
yeah,
When Mario Cristobal pounded the table saying, you can see what this team is versus the other teams in the state in the direction that we're going. I think Mike holds a lot of these things in the back of their head because that was a
hmm
shot at us on,
hmm
unprovoked. So I think
hmm
this team is hungry. They're going to take it week to week. I think they're going to blow Kent State out again. The
yeah.
biggest thing is stay healthy. You stay healthy. Stop putting God. Don't put no starters back at punt return. Get, just at this point, just fair catch the ball. We'll figure it out on offense.
Yeah,
And if
I'm
I
cool
had
with
to,
that.
if I had to have one gripe, that would be it. That we suck at punt returning right now, and you
Yeah,
throw Squirrel White back there, and he gets hurt.
yeah.
Just stop it. Just fair catch the ball. We'll figure it out on offense. But we just got to stay injury free, and things are just lining up, man. The stars are aligning. It might be a special
All right.
season.
It might be a special season. If that's the case, and we project to the future, we might be doing some traveling the first week of December. And I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get these 2 weeks out of the way. I would love to see, a Florida State Miami game. Both teams are still in the top 10. It gives you that old, 90s. Florida State Miami vibe. You know what I mean? You know, game day has to be there. You know, Kirk Clown Street got to be there.
Yeah,
Bring course, bring Lee. Let oh man, let Lee come here. That would be lovely,
he
right?
has to.
Yeah,
He has
he
to.
has to. He has to.
I
But
know.
like I
I
said,
know
man,
he's
listen,
retired now, but he's got to come back out of retirement for that game.
I would love it. I would love it. But yeah, like I said, man, let's. I don't wanna skip weeks. You know, 1 week at a time. Go want to know every week. But yeah, man, I think it's gonna be good. Our first somebody said Noles, man. I think it was a solid, man.
I'm trying to make sure we recorded this. I think we did.
Man, I hope so.
You
If
know,
not, that
it'll
would be
get better.
terrible.
No, it's fine. I think we did. The content will be better. We got to get JC on the show, man. We got to get some
Gotta get more
interviews.
show.
Try
Gotta
to
get
get
12
JC
on
on
here. Well,
12.
look, let's
Jason,
look. We'll set it up, man. We got Kent State this Saturday, 3:30 kickoff. You know what I mean? Of course, the war chat will be active. Hopefully plenty of shots will be poured. So somewhere after what around 5:30, 6 o'clock. We'll let the people know. We'll be back on live, and we'll do a live post game. That'll be our first official. Somebody said knows post game.
it's gonna be a fun season, man.
I'm ready for it.
We just got to buckle up and like, share, follow, subscribe. It's gonna be a lot of good content, man. Wholesome content, man, and much needed after the debacle of last year.
Hey, listen, that's why I put my message how I put it. Right? You always say that the standard is the standard. For whatever reason, I think people forget sometimes what Florida State is. I'm not even gonna say was what Florida State is. Right? From 1986 to now, there's not too many college football programs that have done more than Florida State University, right? Like I'm sitting there, I was sitting there in dope during the East Texas game. I'm looking at all the Heisman winners up there. I'm looking at all the retired numbers. I'm looking at some of the names, 50 bowl appearances, the national championships, and I'm like, and why do people think that Alabama was this for 30 years? Why do people think that Georgia was this for 30 years? Like this is Florida State for 25 years. I don't think people forget
Do
that
you think?
sometimes. I don't know why. The standard is the
Do you
standard,
think?
man. And hmm?
No, I know we got to go, but do you think people like view Florida State as a lesser tier uh, university when it comes to football? Because I feel like we should be in any room when it comes to college football, regardless of team.
You know what? You know why I always have respect for Miami. Outside the fact that they've always been a solid team that goes out there and they play a certain type of way. You always love Miami swag, right? Still one of my favorite 30 for 30s. For whatever reason, I feel like Miami and Florida State are somewhere in the same tier where nobody likes us. I can't tell you why. I can't explain why. I really don't know why people just never gravitated to Florida State the way they do a Florida or Alabama or a Texas or a Michigan. I don't get it. I never understood why, right? But for whatever reason, down here, don't nobody like us. And Miami and Florida State always said, okay,
Just
you
gonna
can't
win,
beat us. Right. Because
right?
we've been busting y'all ass all these years, right? This little tiny school down in South Florida was busting people's ass in the 80s and 90s. And then this other little school, this tiny little town in the panhandle was busting people's ass for a whole decade. And y'all couldn't do nothing about it. So you don't like us. And we both said, cool. We don't need no SEC money. We don't need this. We're just gonna bust y'all ass. Line it up. Line it
Spot the
up.
ball.
Spot the ball. So yeah, man, I love it. So the fact that Florida State is what it is making people remember, like, oh yeah, okay, it's still Florida State, right? We had 2-10. It's still Florida State. This is not some crazy Cinderella turnaround, right?
Right.
That game against Bama wasn't some Cinderella miracle game, right? That's why I told you I love the way that we won that game. It wasn't fluky, right? Bama wasn't sloppy with the ball. They just got their ass beat. period. Right? On offense and defense, they just got their ass beat because it's Florida State University. Hello. So
I
yeah,
think
man,
I think I think we should end it on that one, man. It's Florida State University.
it's Florida State University, man.
What
Hey
else?
man,
What else do you
somebody
want?
said no, huh?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, man, that's it. I'm dropping the ball. I'm dropping the mic on that. This is Florida State University, man. The standard is the standard. That's it, man.
There it is. We'll
All
end on
right.
that.
Hey, man.